Welcome to Chasing Zero, an Ozinga safety podcast, where safety isn't just a priority, it's our mission. Each episode, we explore the real stories, strategies, and innovations driving us toward one powerful goal: zero incidents and zero injuries. Because when it comes to safety, we're not keeping secrets or settling for less. We are chasing zero. This week, we're joined by Communications and Public Affairs Director for Ozinga, Jim Sibley. Because communication is a vital component to safety, Jim and his team are a key part in helping deliver pertinent information to job sites and the company at large clearly and concisely. With over 35 years of experience in his field, Jim brings to the table a strategic approach to messaging, including specialties in media relations and crisis management. Today, he'll walk us through some of his proven approaches and how implementing them has changed and even saved lives. And now, Ozinga Health and Safety VP Adam Pummer.
All right, everybody, welcome to Chasing Zero, where we're always striving to chase zero incidents, zero injuries. And today we're going to talk with Jim Sibley about how the communications team and the safety team really tie in together to achieve our goal of those zero incidents. So again, I'm Adam Pummer, and we got Jim Sibley, the Director of Communications for Ozinga here. Jim, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? It's good to be here.
Doing great. We've worked together a ton, and I think when we kind of started this safety push a couple of years ago, we've realized that the communications team is going to be a huge part of this. So I guess let's start from the beginning. Kind of tell me a little bit of your history, how you got to where you're at today.
Lots of different industries: healthcare, public education, higher education. Did some work on my own that overlap with some of the construction industry associations. That led me here to Ozinga, and have the good fortune to have just a fantastic, talented team of people to make this work be successful. And if you look at our workforce, I would argue that the communications team here knows that workforce better than anybody in this company, because they're face to face, they're right out on the front lines. And so it's a lot of fun to work with you and other leaders in different areas, and whether it's from the front line to the fourth floor, we're connected with everybody, and so that's kind of the fun of it.
So you run the whole communications group. So what are some of your goals or big overarching goals?
Yeah.
You know, we have our purpose statement, we've got our vision as a company. Where do you come in and say, this is our goals as a group?
I like to say that our group is about connecting people to our purpose. And so that can be community, customers, coworkers, customers, and communities. And so we determined that, there's a lot of ways that can be interpreted. And one of the ways, as we work together with you, that's a great example, is safety. I mean, how better to define that purpose that we're here for, to make a positive impact on individuals, families, and communities for generations, than to care about the health and well-being of your coworkers. And so that's just a natural connection with you. Now, we connect with other functions within the organization as well to help carry messages, but also, touch of trucks and all these things that are out in the community, our presence in parades, our presence in various community activities, our volunteering efforts. I mean, that's one section of what we do. Engaging with professional organizations and things like that is another, sometimes elected officials. But our coworkers, connecting with our coworkers every day is a huge part of what we do.
Right.
So.
You ever watch the show Entourage?
Yes, yeah.
I remember vividly now that we're talking communications and branding, and there was one episode where the main character is looking for a new agent, and he goes to all these different agencies, and they do a presentation for him, but they all had one thing in common. It was, what's your brand? They looked at like McDonald's. When people see the arches, what do they think? When they think of Coca-Cola or these Nike or these big brands, what's their thought? And I feel like that's what your goal is when people see the red and white stripes and the Ozinga, it's like, I know what they're doing. Because we do a ton of good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and we're in the community, and we have some great people, like you said, in our company that sometimes goes unnoticed. But I think it's kind of important to show who we are.
So you asked about kind of goals too. One area that we kind of work on that I just call this amplify our impact. Or emphasize our impact. Just all the giving and all the ways that we're reaching out in communities that we're serving and relationships we're building and participating in community organizations, and Ozinga does that because it's the right thing to do. We're not,
Right.
we're not looking for credit for it. It's the right thing to do. So there's a high degree of humility that comes along with that. But you do have to, let people know that, other people, by sharing some of those stories and some of those relationships and those organizations that we support, and inviting other people to be aware of them and also support them is another part of that goal too. So
Right, and I think it also encourages other people to do it too.
Right. I'll say this too. I'm aware of different organizations that have helped me or I've seen make an impact on people that I know, and share that here at Ozinga, and they'll support that organization. And so there's a fair amount of that goes on too, whether that's something in healthcare or something like that. But yeah, it's just incredible, and it's unique too. And again, it's kind of finding the right balance between the humility of it, but also encouraging people to participate and maybe come join us in supporting some of these groups. So that's good.
Well, I think this ties right into what we're here to talk about today, is how the comms team and safety team have tied in. Because when we started this journey on safety, 4, almost 5 years ago, we realized that there's a point where we need to communicate this for all those reasons that we just talked about. Like, if you see it happening in other places, you see the cool stuff we're doing, maybe more people will buy into it. Yeah. And I'm sure you even know this, but what the importance of communication in anything we do is so important.
Yeah, so if you think about your career, your family life, your home life, if communication breaks down, if things get worse or some at maybe somebody's injured or worse, and so and how many times do you experience there's a problem of some sort and then it comes down to we weren't communicating properly, we misunderstood each other. So while it can be a little bit of a struggle from a communications point of view, can we all pretty much communicate, and do we all think we're good at it? Yes. That's not always the case. Right. So even for the comms team, we're always evaluating our work, and could we have done that better, and did we hit the mark? And I will say, the team is so talented. Usually they hit the mark. And there's not a misunderstanding, but to get to that point and to help people to understand internally and even sometimes externally, like from a communication standpoint, working with you, for example, in your team, like, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish from a safety standpoint?
Yeah.
What do you want our coworkers to know or begin to do or something like that? Sharing that with the communications team, like what that goal is, and then allowing them to come up with some ideas and some ways to approach that, either through face-to-face communication or an event or something fun or a video. And so
which there's a lot of those that we'll talk about today.
Yeah,
you guys have done some great stuff for us.
So that makes it fun. But and when you approach communications from rather than the tactic, like, you don't really come to us and say, unless sometimes the circumstance dictates, like, hey, I need this something quick. It's better when you come to us with, hey, we're experiencing this problem out there. How can we influence, or how can we educate or make people aware, or help them do something or not do something? When you engage a professional communications team like we have here, or even approach a problem that way, it opens up opportunities for creativity and what's the right frequency of a message like that, what's the right channel to choose, what's the right language to use.
So what are some channels that we have used in company? Because there's a bunch of different ways, and I know that you have that theory of there's certain ways to communicate people and certain times of the year, certain people. Maybe dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
How are we communicating with our people?
So I always say that the audience has the answer. In other words, we have to start a communication goal or program or a campaign with knowing who it is we're talking about or wanting to communicate with, and understand their perspective. And then how do we deliver a message to them at the right time? What's the best way to deliver that message? And then how do we know it's working? And so approaching it from the audience side first is super important. And it's the part that most people forget, because we're all busy, and we think sometimes if I send an email and when I click send, that's it, I have communicated.
Do you know how many emails I get a day?
Yeah, I don't know how many you get. I don't know.
I know how many you probably get too.
I don't know.
I feel
all
like
of us are inundated with
I feel like we're getting to that time in this world where email's probably not the most effective. It's a tool.
It's a tool for specific purpose. But if you're trying to make a decision with a group of people via email, that's probably not the best tool to do that. So I come back to, we were intended as human beings to communicate one-on-one, face-to-face. And when you're one-on-one, face-to-face, you have the most rich form of communication there, because you can make eye contact, you can gesture, you can use proximity to lean into somebody, you can use the tone of your voice, the volume of your voice can go up or down, or you can be firm, or you can ask a question. And so right there, that is real-time face-to-face, and that is the best form of communication.
Yeah.
You're using that, I know, with your teams when you're educating and trying to build trust. That's the place to be.
Yeah, there's all types of ways that we can do training and communicate. I feel like the best way, like you're saying, is face-to-face, in person. I think that's a lot of the reason when we talked about mental health in here before was we lost that during COVID. A lot of the face-to-face and the and communication in general. I mean, we had teams, but it really takes a toll on people.
That's a really good point, because during COVID, I think we sort of lost that skill set because we had to rely on Zoom or Teams and things like that. And you hear a lot of people were complaining about that. Oh, I've got another Zoom call, these things.
Oh, yeah, it's miserable.
Nuts, So it was a good tool for keeping things going. But that, I think then people began to crave face-to-face communication, whether that be sitting with people and sharing ideas, or creating an event that people can come to, and create that sense of connection. And so that face-to-face thing is super important. Everything we use, whether that's right down to a thumbs-up emoji, if you go from a video to a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, or produce a video or something along those lines, right down to an emoji, strips away every little bit, slices something valuable away from that personal connection. Now we're getting into AI, and those tools can do a lot of things, and so you begin to wonder, like, is this video I'm looking at real? Is that person real?
Oh my gosh, it's wild.
So much more the importance to come back to face and being with people, because there's no doubt that you're a tangible, real person, and you're connecting with people that way. It takes time and effort, and so you have to do it right. There's some strategies to it, but and again, frequency is a part of that. But yeah, our team, Christy Munno, who is our senior communications manager, does a great job of keeping our leaders in the field on a regular basis and rotating that through. And so, and there's, when we do that, we call them yard visits, as simple as that. And there's really very little structure to it. It's being present with people, and that really goes a long way. You don't always have to have an agenda.
Yeah.
You're there to listen and understand.
That seems so old school, Jim.
I know, but it works. But
Isn't that weird how that still works?
Yeah, we're getting so far down the path to these AI things. I think you come back to something like that, and then people go, oh, they really value
I think that's going to be the problem, and not to go too far down this road on AI, but I think it's very tied into what you're talking about with personal, in face-to-face communication is so important. But I don't even know what's real anymore online.
Right.
I feel like maybe it's an algorithm, or maybe it's whatever's tied in. I just need to get off social media, but
yeah.
But I see so many things that are just not real, and I watched it, and I'm like, man, that's a really cool story. And then you look at comments, and it's like AI. I'm like,
yeah,
that's gonna be. We've gone way too far down the road on that. We're gonna even go further, but
and
like this type of communication, like you said, getting your team out in the field, you learn so much.
Yeah, I think so. And there's trust that gets built that way, which is super important, no matter what the size of your company is or your relationships with people, which is another, getting back to the kind of what you talked about, the brand with Ozinga. It's about people here. These are good people that help solve problems, whatever that may be, whether that's in a work situation or something else. It's about people. And so that the value of that face-to-face thing is just huge in my mind. And so we tend to, we can't always use face-to-face, and we have a lot of tools at our disposal here, podcasting, being one of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to reach a larger audience, I mean, that's the way to do that. But inside, we're constantly working on that, trying to improve that and find new ways to do it.
Well, I think the way that we communicate with our people and externally, I always think of the word credibility. It gives you credibility that as a company we're kind of doing what we believe as well, and that's really, really important to keep a message going, because you can, you talk about trust. You can lose trust so fast. It's so hard to gain it back. I mean, that's our vision now. when I set goals for my people, I'm like, it's tough to measure trust. And if I set a goal, I want to be able to measure it. But I think you can measure it. And at first I said, well, what is, from a safety standpoint, trust? And then I was talking with, Marty even spoke up and he said, we want people in the community to trust that our drivers are the safest drivers around them, right? That they're not going to T-bone somebody else, or they're not going to do something wrong, or they're not going to, hopefully give a finger gesture, or we want our company to be trusted for safety as well as, we give really good concrete too.
Oh, 100%. And then, when the inevitable, okay, something didn't go as planned or didn't go right, or, maybe that was our fault. How you address that is really important to building trust too. Yeah. So when the bad thing happens, how do you respond? And so doing that properly and doing that quickly and making it right is a part of who Ozinga is too. And so you talk about building trust. That it's when things are good, you're there. When things are maybe not so good, are you there too for that? And responding. And so that's a part of communicating too. And so fortunately, from a communications point of view, we work at an organization that's just part of the culture here. And so that's a great thing. So
tell me a couple other ways that we can communicate with our people. Let's talk, I know it might be different for different people, but let's just start with our drivers, because our drivers, they don't have phones in the trucks. So what's our best way to communicate a message from safety, from whoever?
Yeah, so you're right. So our drivers, I refer to them as a distributed workforce. They're obviously out in the field in a cab
alone.
Of a truck by themselves. Here at Ozinga, we have a policy where they cannot have their personal cell phone or any device with them for safety reasons. That's a good thing. From a communication standpoint, it's a little bit of a hurdle to overcome. So again, how often can we be in the yards with your team and leaders and communicating with them both ways? So setting up yard visits. We hold our quarterly town halls out in the field at as many locations as we can reach in various business units and try to spread that around.
Explain the town halls a little bit.
Yeah, town halls will take one of the owners, typically Marty, our CEO, Marty Ozinga, and we just had the third quarter out on 103rd Street in Chicago at where our bulk drivers are in and out of quite a bit. And so one of the reasons we chose that location is that we know that our bulk drivers sometimes can feel disconnected. Because there's so much focus on those red and white trucks, and here these guys are delivering the cement that helps make that happen. So we purposely selected that location so that they would know that we want to hear from them, that we value them. He's there for maybe an hour, 2 hours, sometimes longer, just being present with any frontline worker. Doesn't have to always be a driver. It could be a QC technician, could be a dispatcher, could be a mechanic, whomever happens to be there or can be available during that time. Then we'll also create a video. We'll videotape a presentation, which just gives a quarterly update on the status of things with the company that we can then
communication.
Broadcast out.
Different form of it, but
So we'll take that opportunity to do two things: be face to face, and then record something that we can kind of broadcast out to the rest of the coworkers.
Yeah, I think that probably came from some feedback, which is fine. It's good feedback because now he goes, how's the company doing? Any new initiatives we want to be doing? Any new growth in the company? He talks about safety last time. How are we doing on our numbers? Maybe where some of our incidents are coming from, because he has an audience. And that's really cool for him to be the one saying, this is where our safety stuff is coming from. This is how we want to get better. And it's important to him. Again, this goes back to your face-to-face.
Yeah, the importance of that. Then we'll evaluate those too. What kind of questions were asked of anyone during, what was the tone of the conversations? Is there something that's on people's minds that we need to deliver more information about because they're asking for it?
Yeah.
We sometimes do surveys and things like that. But again, when you're there face-to-face, they're asking you a question.
Right.
And you know what it is. You may or may not know the answer in the moment. And you can say that then face-to-face. You know what? I don't know what the answer to that is, but let me find out and get back to you.
Right.
So.
I mean, a lot of good things have come from that face-to-face. I mean, we can talk about this an hour later, but during our safety summit that you guys help us set up, which is, with 200 of our leaders every year come in January and we talk about how the last year went, talk about some new initiatives, what worked, some new initiatives that we want to do next year. And, it's a full day event. We talk safety. That's just a portion of it. We talk insurance. We talk environmental. We talk legal. We talk IT and safety. And all these that are presenting have been we've called it the defending Ozinga, right? We're all kind of defending the company, but defending our people too. So we're defending
I want to steal that name from you for something else, but yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of how this came up, right?
Yeah.
Our podcast from our safety summit.
It did, yes.
So I guess we brushed over that, but we've never really talked about on this podcast about how it started and why we're doing it.
So yeah, that's a good point. So let's talk just a second. Let's back up. Your safety summit, that's just a good example of communication. You're developing the content with your team on what that is, and you're identifying who the audience is for that. We're working in tandem with you on that, and we'll bring some ideas to the table. But that's an example of an event that's created specifically for safety to talk about all these things. I learn a lot from those, whether it's on insurance or any of these other things. So it's great and it's educational. And again, you have done a great job of bringing frontline workers to a panel discussion within a setting like that. And that is like truth to power going on there, And so, some people will bring things up right there and they'll not be shy about it. And it's great. And you know what? Things change because you set up that opportunity to communicate. So
that's what it is. It's an opportunity, right?
Yeah. It's a maybe a larger discussion, but it's set up in such a way that it feels, it just feels like a big conversation, like a big family gathering. And hey, we're going to, here's something that's on my mind I'm not really too pleased with. Maybe we could do something to change this. And I can think of probably a couple of examples, and you would know better, of things that changed pretty rapidly as a result of that.
Of the panel?
Yeah.
When we first started talking about getting our more outspoken drivers, and we want to put them on stage in front of ownership, in front of all leadership.
Which is daunting for anyone.
Everybody's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why do you? But in theory, we want to hear that, right? If you think you want to get better, you want to hear what is going on, the truth. Because we can have an image and a thought in our head from leadership, but you got to get the real people doing the work to give you their opinion.
Right.
And that happened.
So
a couple times.
Leads me to a second. So the question you asked me before about our communications goal, I talk about emphasize our impact or amplify our impact. The other one was we have a frontline first strategy. Where are we communicating with the folks that are out there delivering the goods every day? And so it's not to say that people are here in the office are any less important, but those frontline folks, if they feel engaged, if they feel connected, and we're really doing a great job.
Which is not an easy task.
It is not, no. And again, to have the kind of people that we have here on the comms team and have the tools and resources available to support that, to support you and your team, to support any other business function that we have, is a pretty phenomenal investment on behalf of that Ozinga makes. And so, which also communicates we care about you, whether that's coworkers or communities, customers, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
I hope people don't think that, because we throw something on TV, we want to be distant. Like it's just another tool like we were talking about because, look at the TV behind you. That we have constant running information about the company, some updates, a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe dive into what the thought to start those TVs. That was before I was here, right?
Yeah, it was before I was too. It came in a little bit before I did. Again, the team built that channel out for that purpose and has continuously gotten better at directing specific content for specific locations and constantly improving the software that drives those and our ability to customize in a way messages for specific locations.
Yeah.
And so that's great. And so using that, whether it's a graphic, some of the content that's on there is just as simple as, hey, it's here's a list of people, it's their work anniversary or their birthday or somebody had a baby or somebody got married, things like that are really kind of personal, creates or supports that culture that we have internally. And so that's great. Another example is And again, the team here has just done a great job with these, what we call coworker spotlights. And it started out as a graphic. So here's a photograph of somebody, and it listed what their title is, how long they've been working at Ozinga, kind of what their hobbies are, things like that. So that would be a graphic that would have been on the TVs. It has evolved now so that we are given a camera and a microphone to leaders out in the field, and they're interviewing each other. And so now what they're doing is they're seeing each other on those things. They're having fun with each other. There's some it's not a very serious type of a format, but people are having fun, and it draws.
That's
if
needed,
you see your friends or your colleagues on the TV, you're going to pay attention to that a little bit more. So now we can deliver another message on there too, because we've got their attention.
Yeah,
so,
but we use the TVs for a lot of safety stuff too.
Yeah,
training. Incident alerts. If there's something that we had go on in the field, we want everybody to know about. We've got these TVs in every break room. We got them in every office building.
Yeah.
And it's because we want people to have another form of communication, right?
So, yeah, that's a really good point. So we'll take some of the dash cam videos from our trucks and put that on the TVs. And it does two things. One, if you are not out in the front lines, if your work is more associated, what I like to call, you're more focused on a desktop than you are a dashboard. So in other words, you work in an office at a desk more. And you see those videos, you begin to understand what our drivers are facing every day. Crazy stuff that happens out there on the road. And you begin to appreciate how hard their job is.
I just started posting, with your help, a lot of those videos because we see so many of them a day.
Oh, yeah.
Of the crazy things people do on the road.
Yes.
And me and you could see that too, but it's different when you're an 80,000-pound truck and somebody's cutting you off, and we have full video of it.
Right.
And I think what I've heard is our drivers really appreciate some of it's entertaining. It's an entertainment piece, but it's also a learning piece.
Yeah.
That's what I've been trying to spread the word a little bit of, watch out for the old Chicago slide. You're pulling up to a stop sign or stop light in Chicago, and if there's an open lane next to you, somebody's going to try and use it.
Yeah.
They're going to kind of swerve around you. But with your help, we've been able to throw those on the TVs, and if it teaches one person, like, okay, I'm going to look twice next time I'm at an intersection. Like,
so the drivers are going to see that, and they're going to know that stuff, and so they're going to appreciate the fact they're kind of learning from each other. Or I'm sure they're telling stories like, "Oh, I've seen that 100 times. That happens all the time."
Oh, I've been in the driver room, and every time one of those videos comes up, everybody will look like, "Oh,"
exactly.
But that's a good reaction because it sticks,
and it's insightful into what their daily life is like. Now, if you imagine driving one of those trucks in the city, and you've got a bike lane next to you, and you've got scooters, and you've got pedestrians. Maybe you've got pedestrians from out of town on a divvy bike. They're kind of more focused on the city, and they're not paying attention to traffic.
Right.
I can't imagine what it's like to be behind the wheel of one of those things. But these videos help me understand and appreciate what they're dealing with on a regular basis. So there's a communication value to that across the whole company.
Oh, yeah.
But also speaking of some of the dashboard cams, we'll also use that too in the case where we have a driver who has done something kind of heroic. And we'll share that internally, and we'll share that externally. So I think we're coming up on 2 years. We had a driver save someone's life who was choking. Again, that's a story about the kind of people that we have, that we employ here.
Yeah.
What they're willing to do to save another person. So that's one example. We've had others where dashboard cam video of a driver and a toddler darts out into traffic from between two parked cars. He stops the truck, gets out, helps return that child to its parent, and then goes on his way, makes sure everything's good, makes sure everyone's safe, and then continues his drive. But coming back to the communications piece of that, I mean, our team just does a great job of telling those stories, showing those stories, recognizing our frontline folks, and it helps elevate everything, and it does keep the focus on safety.
Yeah.
We care so much about it. We're looking at what we're doing all the time. So.
Well, it always reminds me of the whisper down the alley kind of mindset. Mm-hmm. If we do it in a lot of safety trainings for like leadership. Like, okay, everybody knows this one, but somebody starts with a message on one side and they got to whisper it down the aisle.
Oh, yeah.
And by the last one, it's completely different. You have some really funny ones sometimes, but I feel like, sometimes in the safety world, we can come up with a policy or procedure or something. If that's not communicated right, by the time it gets all the way to the field, it could be totally different.
Exactly. Now, sometimes, speaking of all this, it's a good opportunity to talk about safety is a serious topic. We don't always have to communicate it seriously. We can use humor sometimes, and we've done that, and humor cuts through and catches people's attention. And so, again, the communications team here, some of the funniest things that they've done. I'm not telling them to do this, although the one I had an idea, but I didn't want to say it at the table. We can tell that story.
Let's dive into those a little bit, because and I'll just give a little background. Every year we meet in the beginning of the year, like you said earlier, and you ask what our goals are as a safety team, and you kind of brainstorm how you can help facilitate those goals to get out into the field, which is super helpful. And one of those times, I think you asked what kind of our biggest injuries or biggest incidents were last year, and the sheer number is slips, trips, and falls. And that's all I had to say to you guys, and I could see the wheels turning. And I remember being in the meeting with you, and you tell the story, because it's better than if I could tell.
It's a really great story, because that was we sat in a conference room, which conference rooms can be kind of stiff, and you're all sitting on the side of the table, and I prefer to have that stuff out of the way when we have these kind of conversations. But that was the space we had. So your team and mine came in, and the conversation was that it's coming up to fourth quarter of the year. What's your biggest concern? Slips, trips, and falls, as it always is, right? And it is everywhere. So we talked about how do you approach that, and the common way is this kind of walk like a penguin sort of way, like, don't move your feet as much. Don't take smaller steps. Careful of your balance.
Which people have talked about for years.
Yeah, walk like a penguin.
But you guys didn't stop there.
Yeah, so during the conversation, I sat back and I'm like, I wonder if we can use a real penguin somehow. Can we rent a penguin?
Can you rent a penguin?
Put him in a video.
Who thinks that way?
How do we do that?
Can I rent a penguin?
So, but I didn't say it in the meeting. I did text my team, and I don't want to say it because I didn't know whether or not we could really do it. And I don't want to set the expectation. So I'm like, hey, is it possible to find some place where we can do that? So the answer turned out to be yes. But the team was like, can we really, you'll let us do that? And I'm like, well, if it's legal and cost effective, then it'd be a fun way to approach this. So the team, I got to give the credit to Christy Muno, our senior communications manager. She found a way to get that done. And so we, and then the Brendan Omaro and the video team worked to produce that. So we brought in yourself and an owner and some other leaders, and we went to Brookfield Zoo and filmed the video teaching people how to walk like a penguin with actual penguins. And thanks to Brookfield Zoo for allowing us to do that and working with us.
Yeah, shout out there.
And so it's a great example, and it cut through the noise when people out front saw that on the TVs. They watched it. And so it's just another way to kind of it doesn't have to be so serious where we're putting up a poster and telling people to be stiff and walk like a penguin. It would just make some fun of it.
Oh, yeah. I could have very easily made a little poster, a little toolbox talk to send out into the field that has a little picture of a penguin that says walk like a penguin. People would have been like, okay, cool. Yeah. They've heard it a million times.
Right.
But when they see Jeff Ozinga and me being weirdos walking around with penguins, it was the funniest thing.
The challenge is now, how do we top that?
Yeah.
Right. So we'll have to get together and talk about that.
I think that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
At least 3 years ago. And people still call me the penguin guy. They might not even know my name. They still call me the penguin guy. But guess what they remember? They remember how to walk.
Then there's success, right?
Remember how to walk. Even if it's not walking like a penguin, they remember that, okay, if I see ice, there could be an issue.
Yeah.
And we went from, I think, 12 slips, trips, and falls on ice that year to 1 the next year. It was like, how did this happen?
So this is a great story and a great example of when you engage with a team like we have here and you share with them what your problem is, what your goal is, and we'll let them be involved with how do we communicate that, how do we set that up. You get something that is out of the ordinary and is usually hyper effective, memorable. And so that's just a great example.
Super memorable.
Yeah.
Like you said, you got to have some fun with it.
I mean,
I can't make a stuffy, boring safety video all the time and hope it works.
You could have come to us and said, Jim, I need the team to make a poster about Walk Like a Penguin.
Right.
And we can do that and make it look cool. Or we can
rent a penguin.
Yeah, we can find a way to get a penguin, you know. So it's just a really good example of share the goal. What outcome are you looking for? Engage with us in the conversation about how to get there. We'll figure out which tactic and build it out. And you're going to get a much better outcome.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be memorable. But good ideas like that come from everywhere. So, I mean, you wanted to do something. You wanted to reward people for doing good things. And so we developed something called the good stuff.
That's a good one.
From that, you know.
Well, that came from, I forget, one of the VPs talked to me about it. He's like, it's so many times safety is looked at as a negative. Mm-hmm. You're always looking at the bad things that happen. And I said, well, I think I even brought it up to you this way. I was like, how do we celebrate the good stuff? Right. And then where'd you go with it from there?
Well, that was kind of a combination too. See, again, when you're working together and you're collaborating, interesting things happen. So you had an idea of like, I think it's NCAA football or football in general. Somebody forces a fumble or interception or something like that, and I think it was University of Miami. Right?
The turnover chain.
Turnover chain.
Yeah.
So that was your idea. Turned it over to the comms team, and pretty soon we've got gold chains that are.
I brought one.
Doing that. Oh, you got one with you. Okay,
hold
great.
on.
Let's see.
Hold on.
There you go. Put it on. Yeah. So you would.
You want to put it on?
No, you do it. So you would be out in the field, awarding people or rewarding people with that.
It was. It's again one of those ideas that it's like, I don't know if this is going to stick, but let's do it. And I think it was the year that Miami was doing it like crazy. I think everybody's kind of doing it now. But and I when Christy started creating this, everybody's like, "What are you doing?"
So you would then go to the field. You would find somebody. I don't know the mechanics of how you figured out how you were going to do. But you would hear from the field, I did this, and somebody identified a safety problem and identified a solution to that problem. And for that process, you would recognize them with the Good Stuff Award, right?
Right.
And so we would, Brendan Omoro, our multimedia manager, and his team would go out and videotape you talking about the problem, the solution, and then putting that around someone's neck. And now I see those things sitting around the office. Wherever I go, they're in an office or whomever got one. People hang on to those things.
So,
it's something that we could, it'd be fun to kind of take that to the next level.
Yeah, we need to get back into
this. So again, it's like there was somebody identified a problem in their yard and thought of a solution, implemented the solution on their own, and then was recognized for that. But we brought some humor to it, some memorable qualities. We use the TVs to get the videos out there. It's eye-catching, and again, inserts a little bit of humor into the process, and it doesn't keep us so serious all the time,
Well, I mean, think about it. I could call somebody and say congratulations, which is good too. I can go out and look at a fix, but when we can use your team to make a silly video that's not so silly, because we talk about the good stuff that's really going on out there. And if somebody in Indiana does it, like, the load and go system that is only used in Indiana, which is when you drive your truck, you get loaded with concrete, you drive your truck out, and it's like a big truck car wash. So they started using it in Indiana. Nobody knew they were using that. But I wanted to, there's really good reasons from a safety perspective why we were doing that load and go, keep people from climbing the truck, keep people from falling. But now people in Florida and people in Wisconsin and people in Chicago, they can see that because of,
and we feel connected enough with you and your team that sometimes we can go rogue too and do something. We did a video for PPE, high production value, kind of a sharp dressed man sort of a thing, and it was just really cool, and people remembered it, and it stuck with people. And again, the production value on this thing was like fantastic. It was just a cool example of put the audience in the actual video, and they're going to know. It's kind of like the coworker spotlights. Let them interview each other, and they're going to pay more attention to it. So,
so
again, it's an example.
That was another nickname I had for a while, was the gold chain guy.
Right.
Real gold.
Real gold.
Real
yeah,
gold
that thing's
there.
heavy.
Yeah. It's fallen apart a couple times today.
So these are all examples of ways that, again, when you work together and we collaborate, and we get to understand what safety is about more too. That's good. And I'll even use the podcast as an example as well.
Why did we do this?
Yeah, we started working, and we started to talk about that earlier and kind of left it there. But so the idea came from your safety summit 2 years ago, I think. And you, in order to make your safety summit more interesting than a bunch of talking heads up on a stage, you created a faux podcast. And you interviewed people like we're doing now, and it looked like it was a podcast, but it wasn't. It was just a way to have a conversation, and it was well received and effective. So you came up with that, and Justin Ozinga saw that, and he said that was fantastic. And then, like, within a 2-week period, I think he was saying, like, we need to start podcasting. Who wants
no
to take
small
that
ideas
on?
from Justin.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Look where we're at.
Yeah,
now.
and so we have all of this, and a really great producer in Jim Henke, and Albert's helping him in the back there, and so so we're collaborating now. We're doing this, how we coming up with the name and what it means and all those kinds of things is because we're engaged now with you and understanding your world a little bit more, and now trying to find guests that we can reach a broader audience with. Doesn't have to be everything that we're doing, but again, that all comes back to our purpose too. If we can, if you're doing something that's having success and keeping people safe, you're not interested in keeping that a secret, and we can help share that. And so, I don't know, if somebody wants to get a penguin in a video and produce their own, and they got the idea here, that's
absolutely
great.
Go ahead. You can be called the penguin guy now.
Yeah, we're all about it. So, so that's how this came about, and so it's just another example. It's yet another channel. We're not directing this necessarily at our drivers because they're kind of disconnected. It's hard to, but kind of large. They may watch it, and that's great, and we encourage them to. But even beyond that, even beyond our own industry, safety professionals of all different types, can learn something here, we hope.
Well, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with new safety professionals, maybe somebody in the same industry, a different industry, that are just, they don't know how to start. Sometimes it comes from, I was the HR person, and now we had a safety incident, and now you're the safety guy, and they just don't know where to go, where to think. So if any of this can be a little help, this is sharing the message, like you said, of what has worked and what direction we need to go to, but all a lot of knowledge too.
Yeah, it's taking our knowledge and experience and sharing that, and hopefully we're making a positive impact even beyond our company. And industry maybe, and so that's part of connecting people with our purpose. So it all lines up.
Yeah. And I love the name Chasing Zero. I mean, I had Defending Ozinga at the safety summit, but I think Chasing Zero is even better. Yeah.
So that was another part of the creative process too. I think we were, as we began to work together on this, we were kind of doing a little bit of almost like a market analysis. Like, okay, are there other podcasts out there in this space, and what do they look like, and can we do it differently? We have these resources, so how do we make the most of them, and what do we name it? And so, I went home one night after I think we had a little bit of a brainstorming session, and I'm like, how do we do this without necessarily using some play on the word safety?
Right.
But that cuts through to what you're all about, and so I was like, okay, Adam's always talking about zero incidents. I'm like, well, that's unique and interesting, and so I came up with, I woke up early in the morning, and I'm thinking like zero tolerance. Like we have zero tolerance for incidents, and so I shared it with Jim Henke and Brendan in the morning, and Albert, and they responded right away, like, it's kind of harsh.
Yeah,
you're going on the right path, Jim, but it's kind of harsh. So then immediately that's where
zero tolerance.
Yeah,
we don't put up with anything.
Yes,
that's a great safety message.
Yeah, it's a little hard, but so Chasing Zero then evolved from that. So that's how we got to that. And so you have a term you call the Chasing Zero mindset, which then extends to your whole work, you know. And,
Oh, yeah.
And even if you think about it within Ozinga, that we're chasing zero on a lot of things. We're chasing zero carbon concrete and things like that. But as it relates to safety, it really cuts through to what the goal of safety is, you know. And so if we share our success stories or how we communicate these things and it helps somebody else, great.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, I hope people and listeners understand that not any one of these podcasts is going to get you to zero, but it's a cumulative effect of a safety program. All the different things we talk about is a piece that we need to care about for our people, and communicating with them is a huge part of that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the other things that we're staying connected with you and your team, and now even more as it relates to safety, has to do with the safety of the community too. And when we run into a crisis situation, we're embedded with your team, and now I think maybe 2 years ago we went out to the regions and asked to be included in their incident reporting. And so my team and I are getting emails and texts all the time. Not that this happens a lot, but even if it's a slight little fender bender or something, it could happen just in the yard. We're aware of those things, and then if it becomes an issue in a community, something like that, we're aware that we can respond quickly, because we're in the loop from the start of it, rather than, this happened 3 hours ago and we're just now finding out and we need to respond to some question from the community or the media or something like that. So being embedded with your team and getting those messages as soon as possible has been super helpful from our side. And again, it's a learning opportunity, because I'm learning more all the time when I read those, the kinds of challenges that our drivers and frontline folks face every day from a safety standpoint. So, you know, sometimes you have to anticipate, if it's public enough, the media could ask questions because they want to inform the community. And so we need to know what's happening to be able to respond accordingly. But sometimes it's being able to reach out to a community elected official to say, hey, this happened, something happened, whatever it might be, and just to inform them. It's a sign of respect and trust, and that has, unfortunately, knock on wood, that hasn't happened here very often. But being prepared, and again, it comes back to maintaining relationships and trusting relationships, and being honest and open. And this happened. Here's what we're doing to respond, and we'll keep you updated. Again, all that communication comes back to relationships, trusting relationships, being able to deliver the goods at the end of the day, and or improve the process or something like that. So whatever channel, coming back to communications, if you can be face to face and you have time and can develop that, you should do that first, especially if you're trying to build a relationship or educate, things like that. Let people know you really do care about them. And you're there to first and foremost listen.
I think I learned from you that one form of communication normally is not the end all be all.
Right. Yeah. So
there's multiple ways to do it. There's different times to do it. There's different ways to do it.
Frequency is a thing too. Like I said before, if everything's important, nothing's important. People start to tune out after a while.
Right, like emails.
Yeah. So exactly. You know, how many emails float down your inbox, like, oh, I missed that one because I had 3 other things that minute, you know, or whatever it was. So,
well, safety is a huge goal of ours, and your team have done so much for us to be able to get that message out there and do it in the right way to try to keep this ship going in the right direction. And without you, I don't think we could do it.
Well, the credit clearly is with the team. They're the guys who are out there. They'll take an idea and make it better, and find a better way to deliver it, a better way to share it. They'll give you the real feedback on here's why this won't work, and maybe don't do that, or let's take it to the next level now. And we've got maybe good stuff is stay tuned, everyone. We may end up doing another level of the good stuff.
Absolutely.
But how do we improve that and reach more people with that, or tweak it a little bit? You know? So it's kind of fun stuff. Yeah.
Well, Jim, thank you very much. Again, not only for coming today, hopefully people can get the message that if you're not communicating as a company with people, a lot can get lost, a lot can get changed. And again, thank you for all your work helping us to further our message here. So
it's mostly fun.
It's mostly fun.
Yeah, no, it's good. We have a good time doing it.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Be sure to subscribe to Chasing Zero wherever you get podcasts, and find full video of this conversation by searching Chasing Zero on YouTube. For company updates and social media, visit us at ozinga.com.